Hello, welcome to my kitchen here at Trails N62. Going to be doing some apples today. Going to can some apples. I don't can a lot of fruit. First of all, because it's kind of hard work getting all that stuff ready to go with fruit, peeling, coring, and slicing, and all that kind of good stuff. But going to do some apples. And the reason we're going to do some apples is because, well, you know, I went to the store down in my local salvage store to get some stuff, and I asked them if they had some apples because I made some caramel and I wanted some apples to go with it, and they didn't have any regular apples, but what they did have was a 5-gallon bucket of already processed sliced apples in syrup. So I'm all about easy, so that's going to be easy. But if you want to do apples, you have to go through the whole process of doing apples. So I'm going to kind of explain it to you so that you know what to do. Now, first of all, if you're going to do apples, you got to know how many apples to get. And basically, it takes about 2 3/4 pounds of apples per quart if you're going to do it in quarts. And so about half of that if you're going to do it in pints. I'm looking at about 12 1/4 pounds of apples to do 9 pints. And once you get it canned. And when you're looking at bushels, if you're buying it, you go and buy it by the bushel. If you buy it at the orchard or something, you get a bushel of apples. It's about 48 pounds, and so that's going to do 16 to 19 quarts. So that's just a rough estimate of what you need. I don't normally do it that way. I get what I can get, and then I decide how much it's going to make, and I make however much it makes. So I don't worry too much about figuring how much to get to do however many pints or quarts. I get what I get, and so I've got this 5-gallon bucket of already done apples, sliced and ready to go into the canning process. I'll have to heat them up because they were froze, but now they're in the refrigerator. And let me tell you, it was something trying to get a 5-gallon bucket in my refrigerator too. Now, the type of apples that you use. There are a lot of different types of apples. And when you can apples, I pressure can mine. You can water bath them, you can steam can them, and it's all basically the same. When you get through with the timing process and everything, it's not the same times or anything, but when you get through with it, your apple's going to be mushy unless you have the right kind of apple. And normally a Fuji or a Gala, Honeycrisp, something along those lines, more firmer apples are going to be your best for canning to make pies and things like that. But I never did worry about that. I just canned what I could get. I have made some apple pie filling because I'm not particularly fond of apple pies, but I like apple crisp. And so I've made some apple pie filling that I put the brown sugar and crumble topping on top of it and bake, and I like that. But that was several years ago. And right now I'm just going to can the apples. I'm not going to try to make it into filling. I can add the spices and everything and afterwards if I want to. So we're going to do some apples. And to start off with, a little explanation on what you're doing here. First of all, you have to get your apples. You have to peel them. You have to core them. Slice them up. Now, if you're going to slice them up for canning, there's a lot of different apple slicers that you use. There's these little gadgets like this. It's got the blades in the middle and it's got a hole down here that'll core it, and you just push it down on the apple like that. You can slice them by hand, core them by hand, peel them by hand. Then you get these little handy dandy gadgets kind of like this. This is okay. But I would not recommend this if you're going to can the apples because the slicing is very thin. And when you slice them that thin, trust me, I speak from experience. When you slice them that thin and can them, you can't even tell there's any apples in the in the canning process after they're done. They're just too thin. So you want a pretty good slice of apples. You have to take that into consideration. So you peel your apples, slice your apples, however you want to do it. As soon as you slice them, put them in a bowl of cold water and lemon juice. It takes about 1/3 cup of lemon juice per quart of water that you put them in, and that keeps them from turning brown, helps keep them more crisp until they're ready to blanch. Now they have to be blanched. There's a couple of different ways to blanch them. When I made the apple pie filling that I made, I blanched them. I brought the water to the boil. I did about 6 cups at a time, and I put them in the boiling water for 1 minute, maybe a little longer, because once you put cold apples or neutral apples into the boiling water, it quits boiling. The process of blanching stops the enzyme action in the fruit and keeps them from being active, which keeps it from deteriorating so quickly. So anyway, you blanch it, and that also helps keep them from getting mushy when you do can them, when you blanch them like that. So I did it for 1 minute, more or less, maybe 1.5 minutes, so the temperature got up better. But basically 1 minute for 6 cups at a time when I blanched them. The instructions that I have, the recipe I have for canning apples, it actually says to put them in the pot of water, bring the water to a boil, and boil them for 5 minutes. And so that's what this particular recipe says. You put them in the water, you bring the water to a boil, and then you let it boil for 5 minutes. Okay? And then you pack them hot into the jars, you put your juice in on them, and we'll do that. But I'm going to get my apples that are all ready. I don't have to cut them, I don't have to peel them, I don't even have to make the syrup. Oh, another thing, when you blanch them, if you want, you can blanch them in apple juice, because you're going to use that fluid to fill up your jars with fluid when you get ready to can them. So you can use apple juice, gives it a little bit more flavor in there. It's just a suggestion. But I'm going to get mine put in a pot and get them heated up, because I want to get them warm when I put them in the jars. I'm going to be doing pints. And I'll probably can some mushrooms in my electric canner on the side over there, because I got some already sliced, ready to go mushrooms. I just have to put them in the jar and can them too. So that worked out pretty good. So we're going to get started. I'll get those put on the stove, get it heated up, get them warm, get the syrup melted up in there and everything. It's actually taken quite a bit of time to heat these up, because the bottom was still kind of frozen. And I heated up real slow, because my purpose is not to cook the apples, but just to heat it up so when I put it in the jars, it won't be cold in the jars. And I added a little bit more water to this, like I said, in order to help dissolve the sugar, because the sugar was all crystallized. And when these get warmed up, then I'll put these directly into the jar. I'm going to be using my granite stovetop pressure canner. The reason I'm using my granite stovetop pressure canner is this is going to make more than 5 pints, and I want to make them in pints. I don't want to put them in quarts. I don't need quarts. This will make more than the 5 pints that my pressure canner will hold, my electric pressure canner will hold. So I'm going to use my granite, which will hold 10 pints. Mine will hold 10 pints. Some only hold 8, some hold 9. Mine will hold 10 pints in the bottom of it, and I don't think I'll need more than 10. If I do, I'll just keep them out and eat them. But so I'm gonna do. It'll probably make 10 pints. It may not make quite 10. I don't know. I'll just have to wait and see. That's just the way I roll. So anyway, I'll prepare for 10. If I don't get that many, then I'll just have some to eat with my caramel I made. But I'll let this heat up, get my jars on, get my lids on, get everything set up to go, and then this will go directly into the jars. I'll drain it, put the apples in first, and then I'll put the juice in to finish it out, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Now my jars have been soaking in hot water. They've been cleaned in the dishwasher and sealed in sealed containers, so they're clean. Besides which, when you pressure can something, that does sanitize the jar. If you're water bathing or steam canning or something like that, you do need to make sure your jars are sanitized. But in the case of pressure canning, the pressure canning process does actually sanitize your jars. So I don't worry about that. If in doubt, if you worry about it, go ahead and sanitize your jars. That's strictly up to you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some apples in these, and I'm going to fill them up to 1 inch with the apples. That's right here at the bottom of the rings, which in my case, my funnel, it's got a 1 inch lip on it here. So when I put it in, I just fill it to the bottom of that. And then I'll put liquid in it to a 1/2 inch from the top. Alright, now I'm going to debubble these. I've got them all filled. Now the other thing about if your product is hot, when you do this, if you're doing it from scratch, if your product is hot when you put it into the canner, it will not take as long for the canner to heat up to the operating temperature and blow out the steam and all that kind of stuff. So since these are not hot, this is probably going to take a little bit longer than what it normally would if this was made from scratch and these were hot boiling water liquid in here rather than tepid. Now the next thing we do is we wipe our rims. And I'm going to use vinegar to wipe mine. You can just use water on these, but I'm going to use vinegar because I have it handy. And I put vinegar in my pressure canner. Because the water's so hard. You thought I wasn't going to finish my sentence, didn't you? Now once they've been wiped, make sure everything's off the rim. Because you don't want anything on there to keep it from sealing. I'm going to put my lids on. Now we'll put my rings on, finger tight. Set them in my canner. And there we have it. 10 jars in the canner, 10 pints. I'm ready to put my lid on and we'll do the canning process. Alright, a little insert here because when I was doing the apples, apparently my camera ran out of battery. I realized it, but I didn't realize how long it had been out of battery. And so there was some stuff in there that just didn't get filmed, so I thought I better put this in because it's important. The times of the pressure canning and the pressure that you can these at, fruit is done a little bit different than other canning products unless you mix something with the fruit. But if you're doing just straight fruit, it's a little bit different. Doesn't require exactly the same technique as you do on other pressure canning. So with the apples, if you're above 1,000 feet elevation, you only have to do them at 10 pounds. If you're below 1,000 feet of elevation, you do them at 5 pounds. That's in a pressure canner. Water bathing, whatever you want to do, but I do pressure canning. So above 1,000 feet elevation, 10 pounds, below 5 pounds. Normally, I would do mine at 15 pounds above 1,000 feet, but for fruit, it's different. And they will be processing time is 8 minutes. Now it doesn't matter whether it's quarts or pints, the processing time is 8 minutes. So I'm going to be doing these in my granite pressure canner for 8 minutes at 10 pounds. Normally, like I said, I would do 15, but 10 pounds for the fruit. So I thought I better put that in there and let you know because my battery died and I didn't realize it died so much into it. There you go. That's your insert. Now I'll continue on. The rest of these in my electric canner. I've got this all set, ready to go. It's heating up. I'll wait for the airflow to start flowing through here at a good volume. Time it for 10 minutes. And then I will put my weight on there. And once it starts rocking, I will time that for 8 minutes. And then I will shut it off. Let it cool naturally. Don't hurry it. Don't ever try to hurry when you're canning. Let it cool naturally. Let it cool down till all the pressure is gone before you try to take the weight off or anything. And then maybe give it a couple more minutes after that, just to be safe. Then you can take them out. So I'm going to do the others in my electric canner while these are getting going here. And we'll be back when this is done. And there we have it. It wound up making 24 pints of apples, and I only had one that didn't seal. It made 24 pints of apple. That'll be good. And while I was doing that, I also canned up some more mushrooms back there because I got a good deal on some mushrooms. Already sliced and ready to go in the jars. Well, that's it for the apples. Turned out pretty good. 24 pints. One of them didn't seal, and as you can see, I've already been in it. What can I say is good? I made some dulce de leche, some caramel, and I've been having that with my apples. Mixed in with my apples is pretty good. So that's it for the apples. Turned out great. Like I said, I did some mushrooms while I was at it because I got a good deal on those. And I got 10 pounds of already sliced, ready to put in the jar and canned mushrooms. So I like it simple. I like it easy. And if I have to, I'll do the work. But if I don't have to, I'm not going to do that. So apples worked out good. They weren't a lot of work. I just kind of heated them up, put them in jars, and canned them. And there you go. That's it till next time. From my house to yours. From my kitchen to your kitchen. God bless.